Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Best and Worst Pictures podcast. I'm your host, Jake, and with me as always, my good co-host, Ian.
That's me.
And joining us, not as per usual, but excitedly, are both of the other co-hosts, Mud.
Hello.
And Joquin.
Huh?
We are all here.
I'm confused. Where am I?
What
We
is this
kidnapped
show?
Joquin for
We
this
might
one.
ask, but every so often we sit down and watch a Best Picture winner and decide if one of the best or worst pictures as compared to the other winners. And this week, we are discussing one of the greatest films of all time, the first Godfather, the hit classic, which actually is a hit classic. I always say that ironically. It actually is. And to start us off, Mud has collected some fun facts, which the rest of us have not heard at a time. So without all that, or with all that out of the way, I'm very excited. I'm so sorry. Mud, take it away.
Thank you, Jake. So, The Godfather was released on March 24th, 1972, and it has a runtime of 175 minutes.
Yep.
It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Other works of his include Apocalypse Now and The Outsiders, both of which we have watched for this channel, as well as The Godfather Part 2, which we'll be watching shortly for this series. Here's a little fun fact about him. His favorite film is The Apartment.
Yeah,
Hey.
that's deserved.
For reception, we're looking at a 9.2 out of 10 IMDb, 97% Rotten Tomato critics, 98% Rotten Tomato audience, 100 Metacritic score.
It's a little low.
It's a little low.
9.2 Metacritic audience score. And the log line on Rotten Tomatoes reads, one of Hollywood's greatest critical and commercial successes.
True.
The Godfather gets everything right. Not only did the movie transcend expectations, it established a new benchmark for American cinema.
Yep, I couldn't put it better myself.
Yeah.
So let's get into the actors. First up is Al Pacino. We know him from Glengarry Glen Ross, which we've watched for the channel, Scarface, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and The Irishman, among many other appearances. Ian, don't you even fucking dare. Fun fact,
I'm not daring.
while he's had several long-term relationships and has 3 kids, he's never actually been married.
Children out of wedlock, Al?
I know, right? Heathenry. All right, actor number 2 is Marlon Brando, known for the You Rock My World music video from Michael Jackson.
He is in that.
Yep. A fun fact about him, shortly after the death of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Brando announced he would be departing the production of the film The Arrangement to devote his energy to the civil rights movement.
There you go. There you go, Marlon.
And lastly, James Caan, known for A Bridge Too Far, Dick Tracy with Al Pacino,
Yep.
Bottle Rocket, the debut film of Wes Anderson, and the English dub of The Tale of Princess Kaguya, as well as Elf.
Okay.
He's the dad.
Yep.
A fun fact for him, unlike Pacino, Caan was married 4 times, all ending in divorce. And some other notable films that came out this year include Deliverance, Solaris, Cabaret, The Way of the Dragon, The Mechanic, Slaughterhouse-Five, The Day the Clown Cried,
Yep.
Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Superfly, The Candidate, and of course, Blackula.
So it wasn't close, is what I'm hearing.
What?
It was not close.
No, there's some good films that got nominated.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get there.
And of course, let's get to the production facts. Mario Puzo, the author of the book this film is adapted from and co-writer of the film, was advised by his agent to turn down Paramount Pictures' offer for the film rights to the movie, as Paramount was in financial straits at the time. Puzo, however, was also desperate for money to pay his gambling debts and took the $12.5K option.
12.5K for The Godfather? You got fucking robbed, dude.
This was in 1967, so 5 years before the film came out.
Oh, wow.
Studio executive Robert Evans wanted to make the film as Italian as possible, quote, ethnic to the core, end quote, as he put it. Their previous gangster films had failed, and Evans believed it was because the core crew was not Italian.
All right, they did make the film as Italian as possible.
I can say that I am Italian. Sergio Leone was sought to direct, but he was busy working on Once Upon a Time in America. Evans's assistant suggested Coppola, after Coppola's previous film, The Rain People, was also a box office and critical disappointment, reasoning it'd be cheap to hire him.
Oh, okay.
It's the funniest story of failures coming together to make.
I
this film.
hired one of the best directors of all
Coppola
time.
then turned down the offer, finding the book sleazy and sensationalist.
Wow.
However, American Zoetrope, Coppola's film company, was underwater because of George Lucas's THX 1138 from the previous year going way over budget. So he also had to accept the deal.
Wow. Oh my God.
Coppola later said that he managed to find a deeper meaning in the book as a metaphor for American capitalism, yada yada.
More
It's
like,
just,
I need money.
Yeah, speaking of American capitalism, it's so funny. All of these people are just like, bro, we really don't want to do this, but like,
I'm poor.
I'm poor.
Oh, I reread the book and I completely changed my... Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We're not going to get a paycheck.
Tensions between Coppola and Paramount were high throughout the filmmaking. Coppola jacked up the budget to keep the film set in the 40s and 50s instead of contemporary like the executives wanted to, as well as shoot on location. He was able to leverage this thanks to how popular the book was. It stayed on the New York Times best-selling list for 67 straight weeks. That's over 1 year.
That's sick, yeah.
Executives wanted Evans to replace Coppola with Elia Kazan, citing Coppola's inexperience. This never came to pass due to Marlon Brando threatening to walk from the film if Coppola was replaced.
But Elia Kazan's also a really good director.
This is even better. According to Coppola, he believed the assistant director and film editor were trying to get him fired by constantly complaining about the lack of usable footage. Evans reviewed the footage being sent to the studio, found it good enough, and allowed Coppola to fire the editor and the assistant director.
Deserved.
Mm-hmm. Brando was Puzo's, quote, only pick, end quote, for the titular role, whilst Coppola wanted either Brando or Laurence Olivier.
Oh,
Other actors considered were George C. Scott, Orson Welles, Ernest Borgnine, who ended up being a finalist for the role with Brando. Mermaid Man could have been the Godfather.
Wasn't George C. Scott
George
Patton?
S. Patton. Yes.
Fuck! I hate that.
The executives wanted screen tests for both actors. Coppola didn't want to offend Brando by asking for a screen test, so he lied and told them it was a makeup test. Robert De Niro was originally given the part of Polygato. However, after a spot in The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight opened up after Al Pacino quit that film to do The Godfather, Robert De Niro quit this film to do that film. So they fucking swapped.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Other actors who were considered for the role of Michael Corleone include Burt Reynolds, who declined after Brando threatened to quit if he was cast.
Yep.
Didn't want to work with him.
Yep.
Martin Sheen, Dustin Hoffman, Jack Nicholson, who declined the role due to him not being Italian, and James Caan, who got the part. He was originally cast as Michael Corleone. Pacino only got cast a few days before production at Coppola's insistence, which led to Caan being recast to Sonny and Sonny's original actor, Carmine Caridi, just not being in the film.
Wow.
They just got rid of him.
All right, Carmine, you're out.
The famous line, "Leave the gun, take the cannoli," was improvised. Obviously, everyone knows that. Other improvised scenes include when Sonny Corleone destroys a camera, the use of a garbage can lid when Sonny beats up Carlo, most of the background extras at the wedding, and when Vito slaps Johnny Fontaine. Al Pacino's family is actually from Corleone, Sicily.
That's cool. I like that.
Stanley Kubrick once said that this film was quite possibly the greatest possible film.
Here's possible film.
Stanley Kubrick saying that means a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
The
God.
film was completed in a mere 62 days.
2 months.
2 months.
Insane.
Wow.
A sequel was greenlit before the film premiered.
Yep.
This is a fun one because of a conversation we had before we started. Talia Shire, Coppola's sister, appears in the film as Connie at Coppola's reluctance. He did not want to be accused of nepotism and had considered Talia too pretty for the part. It was Puzo's insistence that got her the role.
Didn't want to be
My man.
considered having nepotism. What happened in Godfather Part 3?
3, Sophia Coppola's in it, and people accuse him of nepotism because they think she's not good in it. And then 2 final facts. The first one is George Lucas is an uncredited editor for this film.
That's cool.
He did the mattress sequence as a favor to Coppola and directly asked Coppola not to be credited for it.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Back when he was good.
And lastly, of course, this is another famous one. After completing this screenplay, Mario Puzo wanted to improve his abilities, so he bought a film on writing screenplays. The first page recommended just go read the Godfather screenplay.
I want to get better. Read your own screenplay.
Damn it.
Fuck.
So let's move on to some award show facts. John Williams was the orchestra lead this year. Michael Jackson also performed the song Ben from the movie Ben.
I would have been surprised if it was anything else.
Limelight took home Best Original Dramatic Score. This was controversial because that film was 20 years old. It qualified on technicality because it did not play in the United States until 1972.
Can that still happen?
Don't know. Don't care. Also, the winners of the award were Raymond Rashk, Larry Russell, and Charlie Chaplin. Yeah, I know. I guess he composed the film. Godfather was actually initially nominated for this category, but it was revoked after it was discovered that composer Nino Rota had recycled the main theme from a previous movie 2 decades prior, 20 years, despite being played in a different arrangement.
That's so fucking funny that it was also 20 years.
Yep. The Oscars this year also ran for 2 hours and 38 minutes. That's shorter than this film.
Yep. If the Oscars ran for 2 hours and 38 minutes now, I think it'd be a fucking celebration cause.
Seriously. The Godfather started the night tied with Cabaret for most nominations at 8. Going home with 8 wins was, of course, Cabaret, the most awarded film of the night. And finally, for award show facts, before we get to the awards it won, infamously, Marlon Brando did not attend. Instead, he sent actress Sachin Littlefender, using Brando's win in the Best Acting category to speak on the industry's mistreatment of Native Americans.
I remember this.
Not John
She
Wayne.
refused the award as it was presented by Norwegian actress Liv Ullmann and British actor Roger Moore. Following her speech, Moore then escorted Littlefeather off stage, shielding her from more critical and confrontational people, which was actually pretty cool of him.
Yep.
Reactions included Marion Morrison, who was allegedly so infuriated he had to be restrained by 6 security guards to not personally remove her from the stage. Raquel Welch, presenter of Best Actress, which came up after Best Actor, who said she hoped the next winner didn't have a cause. Clint Eastwood, presenter of Best Picture, who joked he wanted to present the award on the behalf of the cowboys shot in John Ford Westerns. And finally, Michael Caine, who actually had a pretty nuanced take. He hosted the event, by the way.
We love Michael Caine.
Who criticized Brando, calling him cowardly for letting some poor little Indian girl take the booze and not attending it and doing it himself. Kind of fair. At least, go up on stage with her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fair.
Anyways, awards nominated. William H. Reynolds and Harold Zinner were nominated for Best Editing, but lost to David Bretherton for Cabaret. Bud Grensbach, sorry, it's been a while since I wrote these names down, Christopher Newman, and Richard Portman were nominated for Best Sound, but lost to returning face David Hilliard and Robert Knudsen for Cabaret.
Sounds like Cabaret is the best film of all time.
Anna Hill Johnstone was nominated for Best Costume Design, but lost to Anthony Powell for Travels with My Aunt.
Okay.
Al Pacino, James Caan, and Robert Duvall all lost Best Supporting Actor to Joel Grey for his role in Cabaret. Eddie Albert in The Heartbreak Kid was the 5th nomination. Francis Ford Coppola was nominated for Best Director, but also lost to Bob Fosse for Cabaret.
What?
All About Eve director Joseph L. Mankiewicz was also nominated for a film called Sleuth. Now awards won. Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola took home Best Screenplay based on material from another medium, beating Cabaret. Marlon Brando refused Best Actor, beating Laurence Olivier for Sleuth, which he did after declining The Godfather, claiming he was too sick to do it. And of course, Best Picture, beating Deliverance, Sounder, The Emigrants, and Cabaret.
It sounds like off the awards one, maybe Cabaret should have been some,
Very interesting,
Is
right?
Cabaret good?
Cabaret's not bad. I've seen it.
I've also heard good things about Cabaret.
It ain't no Godfather, Chief.
Now, finally, finishing it off, we have a Mary Pickford fact. Much like, the opposite of Pacino, Pickford never had any biological children. She did, however, adopt 2 kids, one in 1943 and one in 1944. Audience, for a little behind-the-scenes context, we've been putting this off for like a month and a half for when all of our schedules lined up because we all wanted to be here to watch
Absolutely.
it.
So me and Ian are like mainstays. We show up.
You
pretty
guys
much
are the
every
main
Saturday.
hosts. Joaquin and I are reoccurring.
Reoccurring,
And
every
we
so
just had to
often.
wait for a weekend where both Joaquin and I were
Yeah.
free.
So usually it's the 3
But
of us.
God.
But which third one it is kind of a toss up in the air.
But
all
God.
4 of us is rare.
It's gonna be so fucking worth it. I'll
Oh,
just
yeah.
go out of the way right now and say it. I fully expect this to be my number one.
I
after we
also
watch
fully
it.
expect this to be my number
It
one.
is so good, and I shouldn't sing its praises beforehand, but fuck you, it's The Godfather. If you haven't seen
I think
it,
that's gonna be our sum up at the
if
end
you
of
haven't
this.
seen The Godfather, don't fucking watch this. Go watch The Godfather, and then hear what we have to say about
earn
it.
praise simply because they deserve it.
Exactly.
Some things are at the top of the list because they deserve to be there.
Right.
I have seen the first two Godfathers, I think 5 or 6 years ago for the first time, and I have not rewatched them since, and I'm kicking myself. They're really long.
Ian,
Fair.
what's your Godfather experience?
Oh man, The Godfather is so fucking good. I've already given it a score and ranked it.
That's so
All right.
funny.
Well, I guess for the rest of us, we'll see you in 3 hours.
More like 3 seconds after that intro stops playing. So we just watched The Godfather, Part 1, of course.
It's mid.
Yeah.
No.
No, this is a hotly anticipated movie. We're all very excited. I'll be honest, guys. At a certain point, it's really hard to take notes because I'm just so absorbed into it that I have so little notes, but I have a lot to say.
There was a point during this film where we were watching, obviously. Jake, you made a movement to my right, and like it snapped me out of the film for a second. I had forgotten I had come over to your house to watch this movie. I was just so enthralled that for like half a second, I was like, who the fuck is sitting next to me? Oh, that's right. I'm watching this film with other people because we hadn't said anything or done anything.
Like a half hour.
In at least 30 to 40 minutes. We had just been staring at the screen. Like the world around me melted away. I was just staring.
Oh, yeah, I'm corporeal. My bad.
No, I'm not like ragging on you. I'm just saying that.
No,
happened.
I got you. I totally understand.
Yeah.
It's really easy to just be absorbed for 3 hours straight into this.
It's actually really difficult to be absorbed for 3 hours straight in a movie, which is why this one is so special.
It's so special. It's incredible. I only have praise. I don't have any criticism.
I got some criticism.
Oh, yeah? What do you got?
There should be more.
Well, fun fact, there
We're
is.
gonna watch the next one pretty soon, buddy. I found that every section of this movie felt like its own individual movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like the wedding is 30 minutes, and not that much happens at that wedding. For a lot of films, I won't say every film, but for a lot of films, when we do time checks, when we check how long we've gotten into the movie, if you guys listen to our film commentaries, it's usually followed by the comment, nothing's fucking happened.
Or, oh my god.
We still have 40 minutes left, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We were 30 minutes into this film. Barely anything had happened. It had all been character setup and slow character setup too. And we were all enthralled. I had no complaints that it had been 30 minutes without any actual plot happening.
We also time checked at the hour and a half mark, exactly halfway through the movie.
That's
that
right
could have
about-
been its own movie.
That was right around the time that Michael kills the police officer
Yes.
and the other guy.
Yes, that's a significant
Solazzo.
change in his character, a significant path he's going down.
Yes.
That could be its own story, and it's the first fucking half.
The
Yeah.
closest I can come to giving this movie a criticism is it feels just a bit like Michael going to Sicily doesn't matter that much to everything.
We'll talk about that in a second.
We also time checked right at the end. There was 40 minutes left. And I mean this as a positive. I mean this as a compliment to the film. There was still a full movie worth of content left.
Mm-hmm.
And that 40 minutes felt like way longer. But I mean that in a good way because so much content happened.
It's really like a mini series almost.
It is like a mini series.
It's crazy.
Like this could be stretched out to a mini series, and you wouldn't have to add that much.
Yep. It's crazy how good this is. It's awesome.
It's beautifully done.
So Michael going to Sicily matters because, and hear me out here, I think at the point where he kills Magruski and Solazzo, I think that was the cop's name.
Yeah.
Um,
McClunsky, I think.
he's still, you can tell he's in like genuine, almost disbelief in himself that he did it, which is why he hesitated, sat down again instead of coming out guns
Instead of
blazing
doing the
like
way
he was
was
directed.
intended. Yeah.
He was still on the fence about it there. And you can tell that when he's in Sicily, he's still having fun, still doing his thing,
And then when
when
Apple dies,
Apollonia dies, That's the change in his character where he realizes, all right, I can't trust anybody. I need to be wartime, ruthless. This is what life is.
I do agree with you. I don't necessarily like the way he gets with Apollonia, because he just kind of sees her and he's like, yes, you, wife, breed.
Well, don't forget, he grew up in a family where he can have literally anything he wanted at the beck of his fingers.
You're right, but we have seen his relationship with Kay, and it seems pretty like a traditional courtship.
That was before he was who he is now.
The way I see it
So was that.
is like at that halfway
Yeah,
point in the
that's the
movie,
transition.
after he kills the two of them, he's a completely different character, and he basically has little to no connections to what he was before. That man was a wartime hero. His father celebrated him, and he was just he was the perfect one. He was corrupted by all of this just happening around him, and once he got that taste of corruption, it just kept building and building and building.
No, yeah, you
to
make
the point
fantastic points.
to the point where he could go and basically separate that good part of his life and try to have everything that he wants. It's spectacular.
And they do it in a masterful way where I don't even hate him.
Yeah,
No.
so
He's a terrible person.
He
but,
is.
Like, fuck yeah.
You talk about his corruption. Everyone else in the movie looks at that as evolution. So the characters are like, "Wow, he's coming into being."
Everyone
Don
except for the Don.
except the Don.
Except for the Don, the one that wanted him to have a better life. They even have that conversation where he's like, I had such high hopes for you. I wanted you to become a senator, a governor, yeah. But it just...
a governor in my pocket.
yeah, I mean, true, but at the same time, like, this movie tries to sort of portray, like, Don Corleone as, like, the good person, and there's no good person
everyone
really
in
in
this
this
film's a
film.
monster,
They're
except
all
for, like,
monsters, but...
You could say that. Listen, for as bad as Vito was, he had honor in it.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
You know,
but he was still
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 terrible
a
guy.
mafia man.
Of
I'd say
course.
Kay is probably the most good person.
Yeah. I mean, but that's
the
like a no offense. That's like just a kind of a minor side character, and
But
we get more of her in the sequel.
In films like this, though, I would say it's good to have one super moral correct person, but that person always has to be the K of the group, the relegated side character. If I can compare it to another film with a lot of trash characters that we love, All About Eve, the one moral, like, reasonable guy in that film, also a minor character. He's like Eve's husband, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, like it's always good to have the voice of reason character who is actually the, like, if you look at it, probably objective good character, but they should always be relegated to the side. And in that way, I think Kay plays her role perfectly.
It's funny that you bring up another Best Picture winner because I want to compare Vito Corleone to basically Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, because he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he still had like a sort of like a moral high ground about it and didn't want other people to follow in those footsteps. Remember the scene in Gone with the Wind where he's basically trashing on all the Confederate soldiers, like saying what we're doing is wrong?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I'd agree completely.
It's not a step-by-step comparison, but I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Right.
I understand in broad strokes, but, like, Gone with the Wind also is very masturbatory towards the Confederate cause, because then at the same time, Rhett at the end of the film, basically after not at the end of the film, at the halfway point of the film, basically after it's confirmed the Confederates are going to lose, goes to help them fight. You know, I feel like it's different. It's a very different situation.
Sure.
Where, like, I think at the end, Rhett almost comes around to the cause, which is horrifying.
I took it in Gone with the Wind as like he kind of had like no choice. It was either join or be forced to join at a certain point.
No, I'm talking about later in the film when he chooses to leave to go fight. But in this film with Michael, yeah, you're right. He's like, everyone needs to stay away. Like, I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it works better because Gone with the Wind, it's definitely like shown as like a celebration. Like, look at this selfless, heartfelt man doing this to defend his home. And in this movie, it's like, nah, he's kind of fucked up. He's a bad man. He's a bad dude.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that what Gone with the Wind does is, right in any way. I'm just getting like similar kind of messaging vibes from that.
The acting in this movie is so fucking good.
Oh, absolutely.
shit.
Oh my god.
Like,
It's incredible.
besides Connie, I think she's very overdramatic in a way.
Only in that
is-
last scene, I would say.
That
she's
and
a-
the one where she's just whipping plates.
that I mean,
There was a little awkward blocking in that. I agree.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine for what it was. Honestly, I think it was even good.
It felt a
It's-
little too theatrical for what the movie was trying to do.
The only part where I felt it was a little too theatrical was when she was like reaching up to swat stuff down. I just
Yeah.
felt like her body, like the way she was moving her body, felt a little like, okay, I have to move these down now, not like I'm so mad that this is what I'm going to take my frustration out on.
It's supposed to be the first thing you see, not yeah.
Also, the scene where Sonny beats the shit out of Carlo had some bad blocking and stunt choreography.
That's about
Yeah, there
it.
was
But I
there
think
was
that's because there was probably no stunt choreography.
yeah. There was a part where like the punch just straight
Oh, it's
up
so
misses.
funny. It's a nice wide shot, and he throws like this fucking lead hook, and it just sails past
4
Carlo's
inches.
face.
Yeah.
You can still see the gap
But
between them.
Yeah, but you
And
hear that
Carlo-
thump.
And you see Carlo's head just whip to the side. So funny. But like, I don't blame the movie for that. You know, like this
No.
is before the age of like stunt choreography.
Ian, you mentioned the acting. There are some scenes where all Marlon Brando does is very subtly glare at somebody, and a world of information comes your way as the
Daggers.
viewer.
Yep.
Only the best actors ever can really do that. Where
You
they,
mean like Marlon Brando?
like they underperform in order for you to pick up more of what's there.
Yeah.
It's such a fine line.
There's
to
an
walk.
art in not saying something.
Yes.
Yes.
Like this example I'm thinking of specifically is when Sonny butts in during that meeting initially with what's in it, the name
with
of the guy?
Solazzo, the
Solazzo,
Solazzo
the
meeting.
guy who wanted to get him with the drugs. He says no. Sonny butts in. Wait, you're telling me blah blah, blah. And then he's like da and looks at him. And then later on he's like, don't ever speak like that again in opposition to anything. Like he makes it very clear. But that information was already present from the subtle acting. He just explained it later.
Right.
You know
Which
what
is so cool.
You know what I loved? I loved how that scene plays out in parallel between Michael and Fredo later on in the film.
Yep.
Yes.
Because
It's so
something
cool.
very similar happens, and Michael again doesn't say anything in the room, but the second they are alone, he's like, "Never again do you side against the family."
He goes, but he goes, never again.
Right. It's the kind of scene that works if you didn't pick up the subtleties, but if you did, you know it ahead of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is so cool, and I love
So-
that aspect.
No, and Al Pacino also does a bang
Oh
up job.
my god, I mean this as a compliment. I kept forgetting that was Al Pacino.
He
So good.
sounds so different in this movie compared to every movie he's been in after.
Life has aged him.
Life has aged him. His
So the
voice.
cigarettes.
He
Yeah,
sounds
true.
like I do right now with my crap throat today. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's not Al anymore. It's,
It's
Dunk,
Dunk.
you know? But in this movie, it's so clean and crisp, and it's just,
He's so young.
it's like
He
a
is really
parallel dimension. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But he's great. He's so talented. Then and now,
Extremely.
obviously.
Yeah. Extremely.
Very
Robert
sca-
Duvall also.
Oh,
Mwah!
I
my
think,
God.
I think Tom is my favorite character.
He's so good.
He is.
Underrated Godfather character, Tom.
Definitely underrated. Listen. You have to give me if you have to say, oh, who's your favorite character? I'm not gonna lie. Don Vito Corleone is fucking awesome.
Oh, he's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but I gotta give it to Tom. Like, he's so good. He's so on the money all the time.
Absolutely.
And I like how at the end he doesn't rise to the occasion at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how Godfather Part 2 plays out, but I hope Tom is back as the consigliere.
Or at the very least in a bigger role.
Yeah, but I think by the end of the film, even though they don't expressly say it, I think he's proved he's a wartime consigliere now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He certainly has.
Yeah, and I like the shrink of the group. Like, it starts out with like you meet the Don, his sons, his consigliere, all these
Paulie.
other advisors he has, his driver. You meet them all, and by the end of the film, there's like 3 of them left.
Yeah.
Well, now to be fair, gang war will do that too.
No,
Exactly.
but I love shit like that. I love the gang warfare stories where like you see like this big group and only the strongest make it to the end.
And a lot of this film, I think, centralizes over like out with the old and in with the new.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
Like you have this new Don that's basically just taking control of the family.
And again, it is. I've talked about this a lot of times. Again, comparing it to All About Eve and another film I think we watched for this series where I've brought this up, City of God, where the whole film is about gang warfare, it starts with this new gang leader rising up and taking over, and it ends with him dying, and a new gang rises up and takes over. And I love films that just show that perpetuated cycle of hatred, but every time everyone gets a little bit crueler and a little bit eviler and a little more of a schemer. And there is that whole, like, we used to have honor in this situation, you know?
Yeah.
And then it ends with
But honor doesn't get you anywhere.
Exactly. And then it ends with Michael killing like 7 or 8 people, or having 7 or 8 people fucking murdered while he's baptizing his nephew.
He had all of the other 5 heads of New York and New Jersey murdered during the baptism, and afterwards, the guy that betrayed him too, and then also Carlo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
So, yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure he had 5 other people killed, because I'm pretty sure the Corleones aren't in the Big 5, right?
Are they? I'm pretty sure they
He's
are.
Are they? I'm not.
So
I'm not sure. 'Cause
I'm pretty sure they were the biggest out of the 5.
yeah.
He
I
called
thought
it
they were
meeting with the big
Because
five.
they always talk about how like they had all the police and they had all the politicians
Yeah.
in their
So
pocket,
it's the other 4,
and they
but then
wouldn't
he had the
share
other
it
guy
with the
also.
others.
Okay. I don't know why. Just the way they kept talking about the Big 5, it sounded like they weren't a part of it, so my brain interpreted
No,
it
when he
as
said arrange a meeting with the Big 5, I think he meant like
The others,
everyone else.
Big 5,
Yeah.
including us. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just how it translated in my brain.
In a way, I think they were like so high up that even the leader of the leaders was trying to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barzini.
It's so
Yeah.
fucking, and it never gets too shouty.
No.
Right.
Like, the only characters who are shouty, people bring attention to the fact that they're shouty.
Sonny.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Sonny's
yeah.
shouty.
Well,
But he's a hothead.
yeah, absolutely.
You know what's funny is there was a point when we were watching this where I was like, man, James Caan actually kind of lucked out being up to the role of Sonny, you know, like, because Michael's barely in this, and then they shot Sonny. I was like, oh, got it.
Yep.
Never mind.
Exactly.
Now, to be fair, with how Sonny was leading the group, that was inevitable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sonny was bringing them down a path of destruction. He wasn't listening.
He was a
to
bad
anyone.
Don.
He was a bad Don. And I like how we never explicitly see the mistakes he makes, but you can still feel that he's making the mistakes.
Yep.
You
Like
get
he mentions, oh, we hit him at 4 a.m. We don't need to see that, but we as an audience just go, dude, nope. You just hit him in an unplanned, angry lash out raid. Nope, you were an idiot. You need to be more precise with your decisions.
It was that. It was when you see all of the new blood that they have. He's like, ain't it great? You know, blah, blah, blah. Because they need the extra protection because he's fucking up. Like, you get so many subtle hints about that. And obviously, when Carlo does all of that and he gets absolutely Swiss cheesed at the fucking toll booth.
Oh my
Just
god.
decimated. Look at how they massacred my boy.
Sonny
Literally.
got Tommy gunned for like a full minute,
It was kind of funny just a
and
little bit.
then gets kicked for good measure. No notes.
Yeah, he's dead.
It was
No,
kind
no.
of funny just a little bit because they open with like 5 guys with Tommy guns. Sonny manages to get across the seat of his car from driver to passenger, open the door, and get out of the car while being peppered.
Yeah.
Absolutely, as Ian said, Swiss cheese doing
Yep.
bullets. This man gets out of the car to absorb more of the bullets.
It is simultaneously one of the saddest and funniest scenes in the film.
It is.
Absolutely.
And it's funny for ironic reasons because it's just like, dude, you should have been dead the second these bullets hit you. But
Yeah.
like, people in this film are low-key built different. Like, the police officer gets shot in the head, and there's about 3 seconds where he just stares in disbelief.
He's like, bro,
at
you
what
fucking kidding
happened.
me?
He's
Yeah.
like, did you just shoot me in the head?
Yeah.
Did you just kill me? And then he falls over dead. Which, I mean, I've never seen anyone get shot, so I don't know how accurate that is. But
Wow.
I mean, Vito fucking takes like 8 shots in the back.
he survived.
He survived.
And he's pretty
Sonny,
fine.
we talk about Sonny was shot for a minute straight. 30 of those seconds, bro was still kicking.
Yep.
He was. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. He gets out of the car. He has enough function. Like, he doesn't crawl out of the car.
No, he
gets up
opens
and
the
stands
door,
up. He opens
stands
the door and
up.
stands up out of the car. Like, that is in the terms of getting shot, that is a lot of motor function.
That man is
Yeah.
maybe Sonny's just built different.
I think the Corleones are built different. Like,
gotta
too.
be.
They literally are.
They gotta
They
be.
have to be, man.
I think the cops built different too. Like
Gotta
he
be.
lingered.
Yeah, maybe he's a distant relative, you know. No, like honestly,
Oh, speaking of relatives, oh my god, the amount of casual racism in this film.
Yeah.
It's funny now. But I think one of my favorite parts was towards the beginning of the film. Tom gets sent to Hollywood to make sure that Frank Sinatra can be in a movie.
it's not Frank Sinatra, it's Johnny.
Okay.
But yes.
Yeah, but From Here to Eternity reference.
Yeah.
And the movie producer pulls out like eight
My man
slurs.
swapped slurs.
I'm not. Let me fucking get there. He pulls out like 8 slurs for an Italian, and Tom goes, "Actually, I'm German and Irish." And he's, "All right, Kraut and Mick, get the fuck," like effortlessly, just like, "Don't worry, I got words for you too."
Literally.
My man does the mid slur swap.
I love the foreshadowing and how things are set up without you realizing they're set up until they pay off, and you're like, "Oh shit, that was a setup." Like there are little bits in there, like when Sonny takes over for the first time after Vito's shot. We don't know he's alive yet, and Sonny's freaking out. He's yelling with all the people. He's like, "I'm in charge. We gotta go hit him back." And Robert Duvall keeps saying like, "This is business, not personal." And Sonny's like, "Then business will have to suffer." But then shortly later on, they're proposing the plan where Michael goes to kill them, and then he says to him, "Hey, this is just business. Don't make it personal." But unironically, as if he didn't say the exact fucking opposite. And then there's also that line when Vito is back and he's learning for the first time what's happening. Sonny explains the situation to Vito and he says, "They hit us, so we hit him back." But when he said "we," he pointed at himself. Like, "Oh yeah, it's just the organization hit him." No. I specifically had a vendetta. And he's trying to like not make that sound as bad. It's a very little thing, but I love the correlation, how all these indications just track so well with each other. Or you go back and you watch and it's like, "Oh shit, that was there. That's here now. Now
Yeah.
it's paying off." I love that. I love the layered storytelling. It's so cool and so interesting.
Guys, I hate to break it to you, but there's an orange in the room. Something bad's gonna happen.
Oh fuck,
It's an omen.
Jokeman, get down.
What?
It's just such a strange motif, but at the same time,
I like that it doesn't mean anything other
doesn't.
than someone's gonna die.
yeah,
Like
It's so funny.
It's not got a deeper symbolism. Like no one ever brings it up. It's just if there's an orange in the scene, a character's gonna die, and that's it.
very weird.
I like shit like that though. Just like weird things that the director puts in for people to notice on.
Francis Ford
rewatches.
Coppola must be like allergic or something. He fucking hates those things.
Oh,
By the way, one of the best directors, just in general. He's
pretty good.
fantastic.
I don't know, Ian. He did make Jack,
Yeah, but he made The Godfather 1 and 2.
but
And
he also made
Apocalypse
The
Now.
Godfather
he,
Part
he directed
3.
The Outsiders.
Yeah, he
So-
directed the heaters of all
Can I
time.
just say
No, but he did do Apocalypse Now too. Which Mud, isn't that your favorite movie?
no?
Fourth.
Fourth favorite. movie.
Fourth.
I
Okay.
got you.
How dare you get the order wrong?
Oh, apologies.
Anyway,
Top 5 of his favorite.
When he's on his way to meet with the dirty cops, Michael's in the front seat, the passenger seat. He doesn't get the luxury of being behind them, so he's literally putting his life in their hands. This is like at the start of his journey.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's pretty straightforward mafia stuff.
Yeah,
You
that's-
never let the guy you're escorting sit behind you.
Right.
You want to talk about that scene for a second,
Yeah,
Jake?
don't get shot in the back of the head or garroted.
Oh, true. But no, you want to talk about that scene, Jake? The fucking part where they're just sitting at the restaurant and Mike, like, it is purposeful that we're not supposed to be able to understand what they're saying because it doesn't matter what they're saying.
Right.
Because Michael has a clear goal in mind. His mind is completely blank other than that. And at the time right when he's about to pull out the gun, you hear a train going by. There's nothing going on in his head right now other to kill these two
Other
people.
than train
So
noise.
it doesn't matter what they're saying. It's so brilliant, so
It's
beautiful.
It puts you.
It just
you were-
zooms into this. First of all, he looks just like he's completely out
Oh
of
yeah,
it.
he's got like 1,000-yard stare.
Exactly. Like I don't know why. I don't know how they're not like questioning him. Like, dude, you good?
And I just want to point
Maybe
out.
an Italian.
I just want to point out that all of the color leaves his face 1 second. You can see like the transition
Yep.
from when he's still thinking, "Oh my god, I have to do this. I have to do this." To I'm doing it because all of the color drains from his face.
Yep, it's incredible.
You can see he goes from like the tan to like a grayish blue because the color they changed the color grading of the film to do that, and that's really smart. I really like that. There's a couple color grading things I really like obviously when they switch from the outside shot of the little gazebo where Vito dies directly to his funeral, and you can tell the shading of the scene has changed dramatically from like this happy, I'm playing with my grandson, but now I'm dead. Not happy, but like, you know, the beginning of the scene's happy.
It's a happy
to that like just dreary gray cemetery.
dude.
Like,
That kid's gonna need some fucking therapy.
yeah, everything. There's a lot of really good color grading, a lot of really good editing choices. I can't really name a lot of the bad editing in this movie, to be quite honest.
Oh,
with
the
you.
cinematography is unreal.
There's
good.
one example I can give of
that
quote,
shot
quote,
that
bad
stopped,
editing.
right?
That stops before it starts. So there's like a montage when they arrive in Vegas, and it's just B-roll of all like the scene, the signs, and there's one. It crossfades, and the sign it crossfades to is a static image until about over halfway through the crossfade, and then it starts moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's 3 hours of good editing.
Yeah.
One you could have shaved
3 seconds of
Yeah.
like, oh man, a little mistake. Oh no.
Oh no. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
Oh no. B-roll mix up. Oops. We
Yeah.
used to have Best Picture winners where they would splice takes of the scene together, and actors would just fucking teleport.
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
or the
Oh my God.
sound would fucking
change.
cut out for 2 seconds
Both
or
of
change.
those are Cavalcade. Okay, I hate that movie so much.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like the room temp would change depending on the shot composition.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, granted, some of that is just practically they sucked back then. That wasn't even an
Yep,
option.
I know.
But-
But some of those are the greatest show on earth, which only came out about 20 years before this film.
Yep, some of those are their fault. So, but
Putting
No.
the green and green screen on that one.
I'll just
like-
say yelling out Italian foods is always welcome in cinema.
Ah, dude.
Holy fuck.
There's
I'm
a
just
lot
gonna
of scenes
starving.
of that.
I'm just gonna say right now that every scene where they were eating around a table and yelling and just talking or doing anything
After
was
an assassination,
absolutely
leave the
amazing.
gun, grab the cannoli.
Dude, I hate to be a stereotype, but I was like, damn, this feels like holiday get-togethers with my family just a little bit.
Feels like
Not
home.
nearly on this scale, and admittedly not nearly as unashamedly Italian, but the noise, the amount of food, like that, I was like,
Hey,
How are your murder levels, Mud?
The
Are they
wedding
equal?
party at the beginning, like I was vibing.
I was vibing.
Yeah,
And you know-
I jokingly told Ian, I was like, this makes me feel like a fake Italian because I've never had anything on this level.
And you know the Italians and Portuguese are very similar with their food culture. Fucking same, by the way.
Yeah.
Like very much same. It was really really funny.
Yep.
Ian, are you the only one that's not Italian?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm Portuguese.
Ah.
I'm Portuguese.
I almost called you a slur, but we're
Joke
on
winner,
recording.
you-
Don't call me a fucking
Yes.
slur.
So
Take
I'm
that.
the only one in this room who's not Portuguese.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's interesting.
With a 1 for
I almost
1.
called
Pretty
you a
sure.
slur, but we're...
A soul for a soul. The thing is about this film, when you were talking about the fun facts, that they were worried about not making it Italian enough. If this film was less Italian, it would be less good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wrote down as one of the 2 notes, this is the most Italian film ever. Good.
Yeah. It feels genuine
Yeah.
because of it.
I already talked about the cinematography, but like specifically the opening shot of that long, steady shot of that guy's face as he's pleading with the Don,
The Godfather.
pulling out. And it's just slow. It's like a minute and a half long
Yeah.
of his whole thing, and you hear the Don's response before the camera ever cuts. And I think that's so interesting. What a way to rope you into the movie in the scene.
And it fucking hooks you
Instantly.
on Don Vito.
Yep.
Yes.
Instantly. Because
Yep.
you don't see his face, but you feel the power of this guy. Because his words, you watch that man's reaction as that guy speaks fucking one sentence.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's the goat right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It in a lot of film, I think a lot of people forget this. There is a lot of power in not giving something.
Yes.
The build up is what matters.
That's all that matters.
And
yes.
holy shit, if this film had opened with like a shot of Vito like listening, doesn't work the same.
Yep.
Because we are being shown Vito like his dismissive look. No, we need to see Vito from the perspective of others so that we know, oh no, this guy,
This is what. Yeah.
this is power, this
Yes.
is influence.
And speaking on that first scene too, that first wedding scene is basically one scene.
It's a 30-minute long scene.
It's awesome.
Some of in my opinion, the best movies of all time have very few scenes. And I'm going to expand on this a little bit. The Godfather is 3 hours. And yes, the scenes are quote quote broken down into subsets. But there are really only so many things that happen in those subsets, so that you can qualify them as like, yeah, the wedding scene's a couple, quote, quote, couple of scenes like mixed together, but it's really one 30-minute long like debacle.
It's just character introduction.
Yes, it's, and I'm gonna this could sound strange. It's very much like a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Those long, drawn out scenes. I'm pretty sure Inglourious Basterds has 8 scenes in the whole film.
Yeah, it's
It
almost
is.
an anthology. It pretends it's an anthology.
It is. Here is this. Here is this. Here is this. Like presented, and yes, there's cuts. Yes, there's subsections, but you can point out. All right, this is its own thing. That's why when we're talking about this movie, feels like, oh, this is a movie. This is a movie. This is a movie, but it's all one.
Mm-hmm. Every
That is how you make a script for something that is long, and make it enjoyable. Long films like now. Listen, I'm not gonna take a shot at like any of the Avengers movies or anything, but Avengers Endgame, there's scene that is 2 minutes, scene that is 2 minutes, scene that is 2 minutes. It's not
not
as
the
put
same.
together.
No.
This is put together. This hooks you. This doesn't feel long because of it. We were an hour and a half in. I'm like, oh, we're not 2.5 hours in. Fuck yeah, more movie.
Can I suggest something? In Avengers Endgame is plot driven, which means once a scene is done with the plot, it moves on.
Yes.
This film is character driven.
Yes.
Which means once the scene is done with the characters, it moves on.
Yes.
And the difference is that with a plot driven film, you can only give so much exposition in a scene before the information you're giving either A, becomes repetitive, or B, becomes irrelevant.
Yes.
So the film moves on to the next scene.
Yep.
You know, recruiting Thor. What happens? You get there. He's fat. Okay. He's playing video games. Come with us. Sure, whatever. I have a little PTSD over Thanos. Next fucking scene.
Right.
Yeah.
But in a character-driven film, you can keep adding more elements to a scene. I think a good example of that is in the scene where oh my god, sorry, I'm blanking. Give me a second.
You're good, man.
Oh, the scene where they have to rescue Vito from being assassinated at the hospital.
Yes.
All right. Michael gets there. He has a little back and forth with the nurse, right? Figures out what's going on. Calls his brother. Moves his father. That could have been the end of the scene. But it keeps going.
You see the baker from earlier.
The baker comes. He's like, I got a plan. Which, by the way, fucking brilliant.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Come and just stand with me outside. We gotta literally just fucking no-face this. Like, we gotta no-sell this. We gotta convince them that we are there to guard my father, even though we are unarmed and you don't even work for him.
You make cake. I'm a former.
I'm a
war
veteran.
person.
Yeah,
I'm a veteran.
I'm not. Neither of us are technically associated with the family. Oh my god, Michael thinks of a plan on the fly. Right? Still not over. Baker leaves. Cops show up. Michael starts getting harassed. Still not over. Tom shows up. And all of that was great because it was just all character driven. It was Michael, then it was the cop, then it was Tom.
I'm gonna say, right now, and I don't want to get any flack from this for anybody. You can I don't want to hear any of your fucking opinions on this. I do actually. The plot of a film matters, but it does not matter as much as the characters in the film. The characters should not serve the plot. The plot should serve the characters.
Yes.
Ian, I agree with you 100%.
Who would disagree? Who's like, you know what? The plot's the best.
But
can't think of one
all right.
movie.
But you're gonna go through this especially in a long film, a film that is this long. If any of these characters are weaker, I'm not enjoying it as
Well, let me
much. You know what I
genuinely
mean?
ask you a question then. Like, what is a movie where the best part is the plot? I can't think of one.
The
But,
prequels.
Okay, well,
The
here's
prequels
my-
of Star Wars?
Here's my thought.
John Wick,
No.
Here's my thought
No.
on that.
dude. What is happening
If
is
I
the most
can-
interesting
okay,
part.
hold on. If I can make a point here. I think it's weird to consider the plot of a film a separate element of a film. The plot
Also,
is
yeah.
the film. It's
Yeah.
the foundation
Well,
of the
okay,
film.
like, say, well, do you mean like the plot as in like the driving force of
yes,
the
the
story?
story,
Okay.
the story of the movie. I'm watching the movie, in essence, at the very least, to see a story. That's the base. Am I seeing the story for the characters? Am I seeing the story for other reasons? I think it would be impossible to say in any film that my favorite part is just the plot.
Yeah.
I can't
Because
even call
that
an
means there's
example.
nothing else in the film to enjoy. That sounds like a bad film.
Well,
See,
I
You
would
know,
say,
that's like, it's like saying that my favorite part of the ice cream was the fact that it was cold.
I
So-
mean, that's a good part. What if your mouth needs it?
Can I expand on, or at least like, say
If I'm,
something?
Sure,
if
I wanna
I
hear
can just
this.
counter
Yeah.
you.
This is good.
If I'm eating ice cream just because I need to eat something cold, I don't want to eat ice cream. I probably am coming down from a mouth surgery.
But your favorite part would be the fact that it's cold.
Never mind, you're missing my point.
But that's my point.
My favorite part of the prequels is the plot because the actual things that is happening on screen is not interesting. I
My
just
favorite
want this.
part of the prequels is the pod racing scene.
So
Nah,
It's-
Duel of the Fates.
there are certain movies where the story,
Oh,
like how you get from point A to point B to point C to point D, is interesting, but the characters I don't like. Like, you can look at this
Super
movie.
Mario Brothers movie.
Yes. Oh my God. There's no characters in that film. It's just all plot. It's all gas, no brakes the whole time.
It's not that I didn't like the characters; it's that they were barely there.
Yeah. What if?
No, that is a perfect
Yes.
example of what we're talking about. That is
Yeah.
a plot-driven film.
Yeah. Oh
What-
yeah. Yeah.
But what
Yeah,
if the plot was what it was, but instead of having every scene be 13 seconds long, it actually expanded on the characters and made me love everything.
Yeah.
You know, like this movie, the point A to point B is great. Written
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very well.
Yep.
That being said, if we don't get those extra scenes in the middle of point A to point B, it takes some of the luster out of it. It takes some of the love. It takes some of the passion, the enjoyment, the genuine creativity.
The plot of a film is the foundation upon which everything else is built. If
Yes.
you have a good plot, congratulations. You
It's
have
at
a
least
good
gonna be solid.
plot. You have a solid plot. But in film, what takes a film from good to great
The
is
characterization.
characterization
Yeah.
and other elements. But for right now, we're talking characterization.
Yeah.
There are so many films that I'm like, this is an okay film, but the characters elevate it.
I can
Get up
name
to
2
another
films right now that have that. One of them, Best Picture winner, Midnight Cowboy.
level. Yeah.
Both of those characters are fucking amazing.
Yep.
It
yep.
took us a while to notice that nothing was happening in that film because
Yes.
we were so enthralled with just
Because
their
both
back
of
and
those
forth.
2 characters are 2 of the best written characters in film.
Yeah.
Like, in history of film. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful dichotomy between them. And it makes you forget that the film is in essence nothing. Call Me By Your Name, another film. Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet in that movie have such a good dichotomy,
Yes.
and it goes fucking nowhere and nothing happens.
But
and I'm like, but
it's
I
amazing.
I don't hate the film because I like the characterization. Characterization can overcome bad plot, but if the and vice versa as well.
I got a good example.
It's very strange.
I got a good example. Little Women. Who gives a fuck what happens in that movie? But the characters are so well
Yes,
acted.
between the sisters,
all
the
all
love
the sister
interests,
dynamics,
yes.
all the love interest dynamics. Like, there's not nothing going on in that film, but it's on my top 10 list simply because I love how the characters are written.
Yeah, and it
of that year, not of
Of that year,
all-time. Yeah.
But
Okay.
like, that's 2019, which is
Really
largely
good year,
regarded
yeah.
as one of the best years for cinema in recent history.
Yeah.
Parasite, Jojo Rabbit, John Wick 3. You know, like 1917.
yeah.
Parabellum, Chapter 3.
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse. My point is,
Chapter John 3 with Parabellum.
I get what you're saying, but I think plot, if you can compliment a movie solely on the plot, if that's your best compliment for a film, fucking, that's not a good film,
You
bro.
liked Mario, man.
That-
You
That's
know,
it's
like,
The character, it's what attaches you to it.
yeah,
That's the difference between a good film and a great film.
plot hooks you in, characters make you stay.
Yep.
Characters
That's
don't
the
care.
difference between a good film and a great
You know?
film.
If I'm complimenting a plot, you know, it's like I'm looking at a house under construction. I'm like, oh man, I like the layout of this. You know, like, oh, good
The
space.
floor plan's real good.
No, you got a good floor plan here. Plenty of room for the kids. Nice backyard, a garage. Can't wait to see it. You're not building it? Okay.
I can't live there.
This is
Yeah,
just
exactly.
a blueprint.
I
Shell.
can't stay here.
You can't stay here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly
That's what it is.
No,
Yeah,
this
that's
film,
a great
I'm
metaphor.
looking at a fucking square
Hustle.
concrete.
Yeah.
you know, it's the same thing with a video game. Yeah, the most important part of a game is if you have fun, but
You
what
need
makes a
characters.
game great?
Yep.
Batman Arkham Asylum is fun. Batman Arkham City, you stay.
So I'm gonna kind of spoil it now that the score is obviously 10.
10.
But here's the thing. Before we get down to that road, I want to talk about. This is my last note. This is my biggest kind of thing. Ian, you mentioned about how you get to A to B is like the only thing that matters. There is a scene. It's during the wedding scene, which is like an overall thing.
Yeah,
It's
the
when
First wedding scene.
the first wedding scene, Steve, where it's Michael Corleone talking to Kay,
Yeah.
lady 1/2/1.
His first girlfriend.
His first girlfriend and third girlfriend, which is really funny. But
It's
so
like Grover Cleveland.
literally, she's a Grover Cleveland to him. So she no, I have a good point, guys. Don't laugh yet, even though I'm laughing too. I'm also
She's
laughing.
like Grover Cleveland.
Absolutely
She is
slayed Ian with
100%
that
of
one.
Grover Cleveland.
I
But
think he was
more
the guy,
importantly,
right? Yeah, he was.
during that scene, Michael Corleone is recounting a story about, oh, my dad made an offer he couldn't refuse, and he talks about the crime family and stuff, and she looks at him differently after that. She was
Like, what?
Kind of like, huh? And Michael Corleone says, oh, that's my family, Kate, not me. It's a quick comment, but it is a subtle indication of the path his character is going down. That is the introductory scene. I know he probably appeared on screen once before, but that's like the main introductory scene to him. It is expository without you really realizing it's expository about more of the operation, how it works. It is an excellent foreshadowing for the character. It lays groundwork for their relationship later on when they get back together during the second Grover Cleveland election, whatever. Like that scene, that 1-2-minute section of the movie at the start does so much for the movie on like 10 different layers. And that is why like this is one of the best like written movies probably ever.
Yep.
So
It
yeah,
is.
it's just in terms of screenplay, like how do you
Mario
fucking beat this?
Puzo, thank you for developing crippling imposter syndrome after making this film.
Straight up.
I don't think this can go without saying that The Godfather changed modern day cinema.
It did. It so did.
The Godfather, Jaws, Star Wars,
The 1970s were a reckoning for film.
changed film forever.
I will
Yep.
say there are mafia movies prior to Godfather, but this borderline created the
Well,
genre.
didn't like was Casino before this? As
No,
well?
way
Or
after. Way after.
1979?
No, it was
1990.
90.
What
Yeah.
movie am I thinking of?
Casino. That ain't Casino.
Scarface?
Scarface is 83. That's one of my top 20 movies ever.
Yeah, but
While
like,
you think about this, Ian,
yeah,
I just want to say I looked it up. Like I said, I don't know if I said in the intro, but the Godfather epic, I looked up the runtime of it because it's both films, and it actually has deleted scenes from both films,
that's cool.
which is really cool.
Love that.
That's pretty cool.
7.5 hours.
Watching it,
I watched
Yes.
that, and I don't get bored. I'm just synced in the entire time.
I would absolutely spend a day watching that.
Oh,
It is
100%.
amazing. If you
100%.
can, you go right ahead and you do
will.
that.
I want to watch that. But yeah,
Jesus Christ, what a
It's-
beautiful film.
incredible. It's a masterpiece. Anyway, yeah, 10.
Yeah, it is a masterpiece. And you know what the funny thing is? This isn't even the first mob movie we've watched for the Best Picture podcast because technically On the Waterfront is also a mob film.
True.
Funnily enough,
Also
same
with Marlon
guy.
Brando.
Yeah. So like, it's definitely not the first, but it's the defining. This is what defines one of the best
we
genres of
have-
film in general. To
We
be quite
have
honest,
watched a lot of films that are the bedrock of the genres that they became.
it's true.
And I think this is another one where it's like I see so many.
I see
so
a lot of
many-
movies in this movie.
Yep, I see a lot of movies in this movie. I've seen the scene
Right.
before, you know.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of films in this film.
So I will close it out with one of my throwaway notes, which is where I just make all little notes about funny things that happened.
Yep.
The movie producer has one of the funniest lines in the film, which is when he's talking about how Johnny Fontaine, who we barely even talked about in this review.
Yeah, he's a good character.
He is a great character.
Great character.
Frank Sinatra basically is not going to get this part in a movie. He's not going to get the part in From Here to Eternity. And the producer says, you know, he ruined this woman that I was spending thousands of dollars to turn into a star. She was innocent. She was the best piece of ass I ever had.
Yep.
I just love that dichotomy. And
Yeah.
he just no-sells it because he's a fucking movie producer. So he doesn't even see that, like, bro.
One- yeah. One of my favorite scenes in the film is when they leave the movie theater. And would you like me better if I was a nun? No. Would you like me better if I was Ingrid Bergman? Well, that's funny as fuck.
It was
For
so
one,
funny. Ian and I like both paused watching the movie just to look up what
it was the
film-
Bells of St. Mary's,
Yep.
1945. So, but like,
So-
I thought that was funny. This movie, while being a very serious thing, this is what all great films should aspire to be. By the way,
Yes. Yes.
If you are making a comedy, make a good movie that's also funny. Don't just make a comedy.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna fucking say it right now. And any aspiring filmmaker, Do not just make a comedy. That's how you get Adam Sandler. That's how you get stoner comedy. That's how you get garbage.
If you're writing a scene and you're just thinking, I need to put more jokes in the scene, no.
You're
the
doing it
scene
wrong.
and then go back and
Natural,
add jokes. Yeah.
natural flowing, real human being comedy.
People don't like shticks. They like witty dialogue.
Witty dialogue. Would you like me better if I was Ingrid Bergman? Fucking hilarious.
Yep.
Things
So,
like that.
The Godfather is a 10 out of 10 film, and it is my new favorite film in the series. Finally topping Gentleman's Agreement nearly 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Reigning champion.
That's
I also missed 8 of them.
That's pretty cool.
And what's your worst?
Still the greatest show on earth.
You got to
That
get in the
shit is
60s, man.
Garbage.
There's some garbage in there.
No, honestly, guys, it's like a 0. The
The
worst film, The
The
Godfather.
first
The
0.
best film, GG.
Hold on. During our out of 10 discussion, you mentioned that hypothetically a 0 out of 10 could really only be like a blank screen for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the equivalent of what The Godfather is.
Of course.
Okay, got it.
I did not care for The Godfather. I did not care
It
for The
insists upon
But
itself.
so-
It insists upon itself, Lois.
So, Joaquin,
Yeah.
That's like the most famous.
why are you not giving it a 10?
Bro, you are that teacher who's like 95. No paper's perfect. Fuck you. Give me the 100.
No, I don't even blame him.
The goal of the paper, right? As long as you did the goal of the paper, that's different from a goal of a movie.
Yeah, films are subjective.
Films
essays
are
not.
far more
Films are
subjective.
far more subjective. I will concur.
So you
with
subjectively hate it. I
but
understand.
I think
I-
it's possible to say that this film is the best possible version of itself.
That's not true. What if you were Ingrid Bergman?
True.
No,
Guys,
Joaquin,
it's like a 9.5. It's very close to
It's
being
a
perfect.
9.9 repeating.
It's very, very close to being perfect. There's just some small things that like.
What do you not like, my friends? I would love to hear them. I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm genuinely
Some of the
curious.
audio mixing is just kind of.
Don't talk to me ever again.
It's very loud, but that might just be because we had the volume.
No,
very
it
up.
no.
Oh,
it-
can I say it?
No
We
matter
didn't
what.
even talk about the score. It's so good.
Oh, the score is beautiful, but some of the audio mixing is kind of even for the time. It's kind of no matter what version you watch, and that like small little things like that. I'm not like there's not like a giant glaring flaw with this film. There really isn't.
So nitpicks.
Yeah, just tiny little nitpicks.
Okay. I was just curious.
And can I just say
And
that
No.
you know what? I mean, it has been a little bit, but I do prefer the part 2 portion.
Part 2
So-
is so good.
I will say this, Joaquin. If you say that, and then you don't give it a comparable or higher score, I will stab you.
Go right ahead, bud.
I'm just gonna.
Oh, by the way, sorry, Casablanca, you finally been topped.
Wow.
Definitively.
Definitively.
Jake, go ahead.
No, you know what? I hear you. What you gotta say first.
Well, hold on, because you know what? Fine, I'm gonna talk more anyway.
All right, more worse is The Godfather.
In a film that is supposed to be as Italian as possible, there are 2 things that are important
Being
The
Italian.
in the film, which they eat a lot of. Mama's always making dinner. They're always going to a restaurant. They're always eating, doing something. Get this guy a drink. Get this guy.
And the Mafia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the music. The music culture in this film is impeccable. The guy that they hired to compose this film, quite literally born and died in Italy.
Yep.
They hit the nail on the head with 2 of the most important things, and obviously the familial bond between them, very, very important. This is a 10 out of 10. They did literally everything that they needed. If this film was less Italian, I will reiterate, it would be a worse film. This is the best one, dethroning Lawrence of Arabia, or Bridge on the River Kwai, not Lawrence
River
of Arabia.
Kwai. Yep.
Because let me be clear, this film is perfect. This is the best one. This will be the best one for 30 years. Then I have to put it up against Gladiator, and I honestly don't know what's going to be the best one out of those 2.
What about part
Unless
2?
there's, a sleeper that we're just not aware of, or The Godfather Part 2 is better. Who fucking knows? GG is still the worst one because it promotes pedophilia.
The worst one is still Tom Jones. I hate Tom Jones. Been thinking about that for a while. Do I dethrone River Kwai? Yeah. No, it's the best one.
We are all reset.
We are all
All of
reset.
us have the same favorite again for the first time since the 30s.
Since the first one.
I can.
No, we all had freaking All Quiet as our favorite for a while.
We all had Wings as our favorite for the first one.
For the first 2,
Yeah.
and then All
And
Quiet.
it was our worst.
I think it happened one night where we started to differ. I don't remember. We'd have to go back.
I'll just say
that was
this.
like 2 years ago now.
In line with what you guys are saying, mostly Ian, I can count on one hand how many upcomings had
They have
a
to think
shot,
about it.
have
Yep.
a shot of dethroning it.
Because all right, Godfather Part 2, you have to think about it because it's obviously a banger. Gladiator, I'm gonna have to think about
Don't you
it.
bring up Gladiator in my house, Ian.
All right, but I have to think about it because
Love Gladiator.
I love
so
Gladiator
much.
too.
Can I say, at the time of recording this, I will add that I think the most recent Best Picture winner has a shot.
This is a film. This is what Martin Scorsese defines as cinema.
Well, seeing as how
well-
Martin Scorsese basically copies a lot of this film and all of his other films, yeah, I'd say so.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
We will end on those fighting words.
Am I?
Yeah, let's go.
Am I wrong?
See you next time for
The Sting.
Seeing you next time for the Joke Win versus Martin Scorsese boxing match.
I don't even think Scorsese would disagree with me. What's he gonna do? Do Shark Tale again?
End it right there.